Hi, good morning. I'm so excited to be coming to you today from here in the barnyard. And of course, you're hearing crickets and everything else. You'll probably see my cat coming from the background. But I want to welcome you to my very first broadcast, which is titled Beverly Hills to Barnyard. Now, I'm not going to have a special guest today because today I just want to talk about why did I start my broadcast today? Why am I doing Beverly Hills to Barnyard? And it's to not only talk about my journey and how did I end up here after 30 years in Los Angeles, after even having the courage to move to Los Angeles from Kansas City, Missouri. All of those things I want to talk about, but I also want to talk about you. And I want to hear your suggestions about different things that you're going through, in addition to the special guests that I'm going to be having come on. But first, I was talking to my nephew yesterday, Julian Goff, who is like my baby son. I have two boys, Jerry and Jermaine Herring. And then there's my nephew, Julian, who we've been very close, and my niece, Tammy, my brother's two kids, and we're extremely close. But I was talking to Julian and I said, Julian, for some reason, I'm nervous about going on today. And I hadn't been able to figure out why. And he's like, Auntie, you talk all the time. I mean, there's quotes that I use in my class that you've told me about, and all these different things that he brought up to me. And he mentioned the bus. And back in 2007, 2008, something like that, I was home taking care of my dad, and I started thinking about my life and how I really treat it like it's a bus and I'm the driver. And the seats on it are never ending, and the different people that we meet and interact with. But instead of me going into that in detail, I want to share a video with you, and then I'm going to come back to you. But it's called Driving Towards Success. So I'm going to share my screen and play my video, Driving Towards Success.
The journey, on my life's journey. And I always use the metaphor of a bus when I'm thinking about my life, both personal and business. I'm the driver, and it's never-ending seats. The seats just continue to run into infinity. You let someone on, but one thing that I don't do is I never put anyone off. Come on and join me on my life's journey. Welcome to the Metro bus of Sherita Herring. Now, before we go any further, I've got a few guides that kind of help me to dictate where people should be on my seat. Now, they're my guides. This is just a subliminal message of how you can treat your life. We've got our driver's hat, then we've got our seat number 1 through 5. Those are the love relationships in the family that you're allowed to sit on seat 1, 2 through seat 5. Now, these seat numbers will sometimes change on your guide. Then we have the seats 6 through 13. Those are those collaborations. When you're in business and you're working with someone to further your project, you have business partners, you have your staff. Those are your collaborations, and you allow those to be on those seats that are a little closer to you, but right behind your family and your love relationship. Then seats 14 through 589. Now remember, your seats are never ending. They go back through infinity. These are just subliminal numbers, but you have your close friends, your current coworkers, and all those other people that you kind of want to be able to just kind of turn around and holler at on your bus. But then you've got seats 590 to 910. Now those are those ex-lovers where you haven't been able to quite mend those relationships, but again, you don't want to put them off your bus. And just those casual friendships, those people that you call now and then, send Christmas cards, you just kind of stay in touch with. And then those past coworkers, even those that probably you didn't quite get along with, they're still on your bus. Remember, you don't put anybody else off. This is a real important. Seats 911 through infinity. That's those seats of the anger, hurt. That's where you have to find forgiveness and patience. So you're not putting anyone off your bus. Remember, you're the driver. You're the driver, no one else. So make sure that you wear your hat well. So come on in. I want to take you on a ride. You have to know when to lead, when to allow someone to lead you, and then sometimes just know when to be still. For instance, I had a relationship as far as growing up, and She had been my friend ever since we were 5 years old. The first 10 to 12 years of our life, she rode on seat number one right here so we could talk and laugh and play, and I could even whisper and she would hear me. But then after high school, I married, she went off to college, and so the seats changed on the bus. Sometimes life would dictate the change of the bus, and then sometimes you will actually move people on your bus. Just like that bus that just went by, that's someone else's life. So my two kids, in-laws, the child care providers, all of them ended up being on seat number 1, 5, 6, all of those. But then on her life bus, now she has her college roommate, her college friends, professors, and all those other people that share the common interests that she shares. So understand that your life will also sometimes shift the seats without you having to do it yourself. I had a client that I worked with, and he was a very prominent person in the city of Los Angeles. And by the time that we finished working together, there was a large bill that was due to me. And he did not pay that. And I was very angry. But instead of putting that person off my bus, see, you have to do for your business relationships. Instead of putting him off the bus, I moved him way back by the emergency door. Now, the emergency door was kind of cracked. There goes someone else's life bus going by. The emergency door was kind of cracked. So just in case I hit a good bump, he fell off by himself. But you know what? Just kidding. Because actually, I don't want him to fall off. But what I did is I made sure that I kept that relationship going. I kept it open, because you never know when you'll get to a corner and the only person that you put off your bus was that one that you put off some years ago because of anger or pain. So you have to kind of jump back to this manual and know how to handle that. Now, so what I did is in nurturing that relationship, as our friendship and business relationship increased, I literally was straightening that rearview mirror and could actually see myself allowing that person to come up from seat 989 and then seat 500. And you can literally see them in your rearview mirror as they're walking up. You might remember the story about Stanley Tookie Williams. If you don't, he was one of the founders of the Crip gang members in Los Angeles. And he and Arnold Schwarzenegger, reports have shown that they met years ago in Venice Beach at Muscle Beach in California. Now, this is a perfect reason why you shouldn't put anyone off your bus. Tookie Williams had no idea that 30 years later, that young Arnold Schwarzenegger would be the very person that would decide whether he lived or died. And so here Tookie Williams was executed in December 2005 because Arnold Schwarzenegger did not pardon him from the death penalty. So that's kind of taking it to the real extreme. But again, you never know when you're going to meet that person again. So don't put them off your bus. Just put them at the back of your bus. Remember when I told you that people will move around on your seat, or sometimes you move people around on your seats? These seats right up here, these are those people that are close to you. That's your spouse, your brother, your sister, your best friend, because you want them close so that when you're in that driver's seat, all you have to do is turn around and you can talk to them and you don't have to scream. But there's going to be times that you move people to the other end of the bus. Now, sometimes you want to put people way back here. Those are those people that hurt your feelings. They could be an ex-lover, an ex-husband, a co-worker that you really don't get along with that well. You want to put them way back by the emergency door. Because you know what? You don't want to put anyone off your bus. We all have our own life's bus. I have my life and you have your life. It doesn't matter what it is that you do. You can be a stay-at-home mom. You can be a photographer, an inventor, a school teacher. But the thing is to know that you're in control of the seats on your bus. Now, once in a while, I think of my subliminal books where either I have those people that are my loved ones, seats 1 through 5, they're sitting right here close so that they can hear me when I'm driving. But then I've got the seats of fear and anger and forgiveness. Those are those seats that are way to the back. No matter who you are and how you place the people on your bus, remember you're in control. Just know that sometimes you got to hold on tight because you're going to have bumps in life. You're going to have hurts and disappointments. But just remember that you are in control of your bus.
Okay. So I
Introducing Revoicer, the AI-powered
my
text
gosh.
to voice software
Rita, we
that
gotta learn how to do this
revolutionized the
better, right?
voiceover world.
Okay, let me get back to you. So I will get this down. And you would think that I've never done Zoom before, but for some reason, when you're on live, you've got all the errors that will show also. So anyway, back to my bus. And so when I talk about the bus, I'm talking about you and I, how we will meet people. We get angry sometimes. We don't want to talk to people. Do you know how hard it is to ignore someone that you haven't been talking to? Let's say that you see them in the store. You're trying to look and see, are they looking at you? You're wondering, they're trying to look and want to look away. If you turn and look at them, that's toxic. And so just go in and say, hello, how you doing? Go on about your business. The thing is that, and so that's a way of moving them around on your bus. When I talk about the friend of mine, that's Barb. She and I have been besties since we were 5 years old. And you know, when I got married very young, I got married right out of high school, had my first son. Barb went off to college. And when she would come home, sometimes like we would go and eat pizza and do the things that we always used to do. But sometimes to me, I don't even know if this ever happened to her. It seemed like we ran out of things we were going to talk about. It didn't flow the way it always did, with us just always being together day after day, riding bikes, taking walks in the woods, just doing all the things that we did. Her getting sick of me wanting to bake peanut butter cookies every day during the summer or playing Barbies. But the thing is that our lives changed. And so life moved her around on my bus. I ended up moving back on seat in the middle of the bus, seat 50 maybe on her bus. And she was back in the same seat on mine. But when she would come home, she would move up on the bus. And I'm wondering why our conversations were different. And in life, that happens to us. And it's not that you no longer like or love that person. It's just life has changed. So again, Beverly Hills to Barnyard is going to talk about all of these things. And how do we pivot in life and do things differently and still embrace all of life and who is around us? How do we get over those hurts of those individuals that maybe we feel we were deceived? Maybe, I mean, I've been married and divorced twice. Do I hold that against me or them? Not at all. It was part of my journey. They've just moved back from being sometimes driving my bus to moving back a few seats, maybe all the way back by the emergency door when it cracked and I want to hit a good bump and they fall off. But I don't want that to happen because the journey was great while it was great. When my dad passed, even, you know how on buses, maybe some of you have not been on a bus, some of you, maybe it's been years, but you know how on a bus, there are the advertisements that are up top if you turn and look at them. The people that have been in our lives that we've lost, no matter how deep the pain, they're still there. Their memories are still there. Just look up. And just like the advertisements, meaning the pictures in your home, the memories that you have, you can look up, and even the people on your bus look up and say, oh, there's Uncle Chris, which is my dad. And I'm like, yeah, I had to have dad riding with me every day, Or my mom, who left at a very young age at 53, back in the early 90s. I miss her dearly, but she's still on my bus. So thank you, Julian, for reminding me that about the bus and about how that has been such a major part of my life. And so we're going to talk about our journeys. We're going to talk about also, so often we feel like, why are we here in this world? Some people don't feel complete. Some of the greatest individuals with money, more money than they could ever spend, have committed suicide. Why? What do we feel like something is missing oftentimes? And so Beverly Hills to Barnyard is talking about shifting. It's talking about shifting in our life. It's talking about embracing those things that can just bring us back around, even in our lowest moments. As people watch me post on Facebook and they say, Sherita, you're always smiling. You're always happy. Well, no, I'm not always happy. I choose to look for happiness. I choose joy. That's why my dog's name is Joy. Mommy, where are you? Come show them that you're right here with me, because I keep my Joy girl with me here all the time. I named her Joy because on days when I make it, not only did she have that kind of personality, but on days if I may not feel joy, I can say joy all day, every day. Come here, Joy. Joy, where are you? Well, sometimes in life, you might have to just say that. Joy, where are you? Joy, I need to feel you today. And so again, I hope that you will be tuning in to me. I hope that also some of you think about being my guest, because yes, I'm going to highlight some of my celebrity friends and how did they get to where they are and what are they doing now in life? How did they pivot? How do you find the courage to even think about doing something new? But I also want to highlight you. What are you doing in your life? What would you like to do? You know how we oftentimes we will watch talk shows, or we will listen to radio shows and people will talk about where their organization is now, or they want to feature that book now. But you as the listeners always hear the end product. I want to bring on individuals that are in the midst of the storm in deciding what you're going to do, thinking about retiring and wondering what is life going to be like once you're home with that husband that you've loved for 30 years, but you haven't spent day to day, hour after hour together in 25 years. How are you going to deal with that? How are you going to, will you even like each other in spending that much time? And so that's what we're going to talk about. I'm going to talk to you about here at the barnyard, my chickens that many of you probably get sick of my videos and pictures and me talking about, you know, Bootsy, my Boots the rooster, who I've named after Bootsy Collins. He probably doesn't even know that, but Bootsy has fur all around his feet and they look like boots. And he reminded me of Bootsy Collins. Betty White, my chicken, the twins, Mary and Mamie, or my dogs like Joy and General Ali, or just talking about why at 60 or almost 60, did I decide to move from sunny California, living my life in Los Angeles, and now coming to the natural state of Arkansas and being on a farm, literally, and steady getting more animals, like the 2 goats that I just got, Serena and Simone. One of the things though, people would think, Sherita, you're going to overwhelm yourself. And I always go back to different things that my mom said to me. Don't ever do anything that you can't handle on your own. It's not that I don't need anyone else, but if someone else isn't there, can I handle what I've gotten myself into? From rent to buying a home, buying vehicles or whatever. Do what you can do, what you can handle, because situations will change or can change for whatever reason. I mean, yes, you could have a spouse or living with someone, but maybe they could get ill or you guys could separate. Will you be able to handle the capacity of what you want in your life or what you currently have in your life? Sometimes we have to eliminate some things. And so I want to be able to talk about all of those things. Yes, I'm always smiling, but I also just have a big mouth. Can you imagine? I probably sleep with my mouth in a smile. So, but I do have trials and tribulations, and I have storms. I have major storms besides these that happen here in Arkansas that scare the heck out of me. I've been gone for 30 years from Kansas City, Missouri, where I grew up, and I'm not used to the storms. And so coming here and the thunderstorms and the tornadoes, I hadn't heard thunder or seen lightning in almost 30 years. So yes, the storms scare me, but I want to talk a little bit about storms and life's storms. I feel like that even being here in the barnyard, God was preparing me for some major storms. Major storms. Now, what most people aren't aware of, when I first moved to Arkansas, I moved here alone. Me and Joy drove from Southern California And I drove my Cadillac here, my dad's Cadillac that was gifted to me. And Joy and I moved here and got our condo, and I moved here as a single woman. And then my ex-husband and I, who wasn't my husband at the time, we ended up getting back together, and he moved here too. And then, so storms hadn't started brewing yet. But the thing is that when I moved here on the land, and the more joy that I found here on the land, sometimes people are in our lives just for us to go on a journey to take us to a particular place. And I think with us traveling and us coming to Arkansas initially wasn't on my mind, but I came here to do some training with my uncle, who was the mayor at the time, my Uncle Naaman, and to train him and his staff to go after a particular grant. And I wanted to move out of Los Angeles. I had been thinking about it for years. I had even talked to my boys about me moving to Paris. I love Europe, and I had thought about moving in the countryside right outside of Paris. Yes, I would do that. I mean, you guys, I would just up and do anything. And then I came to Arkansas. So anyway, I'm trying to tell this story in the time allotted for my quick 30-minute show. So anyway, I came to Arkansas, and then later my ex-husband came, and my aunt, who I had done a lot of work for, my Aunt Nat, oh God, I love her dearly. I'm so grateful for her. Because I had done a lot of nonprofit work for her and got her first grant there in Kansas City, she ended up, this land she gave to my organization. And that's how I ended up here. But back to the storm. I did not know that storms would be raging, and I would end up being divorced. But being here on this land, even through that storm, I can't tell you, I get chill bumps on my arm. I can't tell you the joy that even through the midst of a storm, the joy that I continuously felt, and the prayers that I even prayed for the both of us, for us to find joy, continue to find joy and happiness. The waking up in the morning and dealing with the chickens and pulling eggs and just being here helped me to get through the storm. And I started relating that to a car with shocks. A car can drive without shocks, and you can get from one destination to another, but it's going to be an awfully bumpy road. But when you're doing what you love, when you have found your passion and you can operate in it daily, that's like shocks. That's like when bumps hit, when storms are raging all around you, when you've got good shocks, the storms, the bumps of the storm are not nearly as bad as they could be. And I feel like being here in the barnyard and being here in nature and with animals that I've always loved. See, God will prepare you all in your journey in life, while you're driving your bus, while you're meeting the people that you'll meet, while you're moving people around, while people are moving around themselves. When that bus has shocks, meaning you're doing the things that you love, when you're being true to yourself, the bumps in life are not near as bad as they could be. So I wanted to share these stories with you for my first show. I didn't want to have a guest at first I thought about having a guest, and I talked to Michael Collier, my dear friend and comedian, but he's on the air right now at 7 a.m. in Pacific time. And so that conflicted. But then it's like God said, but right now you just need to tell your story. You just need to share some things and give people some insight into what Beverly Hills to Barnyard is going to be about. And so again, I want to thank you for tuning in. I want to thank my nephew, Julian, for having that conversation with me last night. I want to thank my best friend, Barb, who I talked about being on the bus with me and have been my buddy since 5 years old. I want to thank so many people that have been along my journey. My girlfriend, Irena, in Los Angeles, who has been my bestie, I call her my LA bestie. since for over 20 years. My girlfriend Bertha, who also ran with us in Los Angeles. Oh, there are so many people, LaRue, and my boys and my grandchildren, and the wonderful people that I'm meeting here. And please, if I don't name you, that doesn't mean that you haven't been very significant in my life. I'm going to be talking about all of you as we go along this journey of my podcast, so that all of you will be learning more about me. I'll be learning more about you, because I want you to email me. I'm going to make sure that I provide my email address. I'm going to be on my Facebook. I'm going to be providing a link so that if you would like to be a guest on the show, you can go to my website. And if you would like to go there now, even a lot of people, you may not even be able to spell it, but it's philanthropyalliance.org. That's philanthropyalliance.org. And you will see a link that says podcast guest or be a guest on the podcast. And if you would like to be a guest, go there and fill in your information, because I'd love to hear from you. Now, know that I already have received quite a few requests to be on the podcast. So it doesn't guarantee that I'll be able to have you on right away, or it may be later, but I would love for you to submit your information so that you can become a guest also. But also, I'd love to hear your ideas. What would you like for me to talk about on the show? Like, for instance, I'm going to talk about the dementia and the family dynamics, because like I mentioned, my aunt, Janetta Bradley, is so, so dear to me. And she's going through what's called vascular dementia right now. And I want to talk about dementia and get comments and just kind of share the dynamics of how it has impacted us. So often it's impacting that individual, but it drastically impacts the family too. And I want to thank my sister Mona and my sister Neil. And just recently we had our family reunion, and my brothers and sisters, Sonny, Pete, my sister-in-law Nita, and my wonderful niece Tammy came in, and everybody worked so hard. There's so many thank yous and gratitude that I have in life. And again, please don't feel slighted if for some kind of way you were not mentioned, because I also have two wonderful daughter-in-laws, Chelsea and Charlie. And I'm going to talk about all of them and feature different aspects. I'm going to show fun pictures here on the podcast and just so much. So again, we're coming close to the hour or the 30 minutes of my podcast. And I just want to thank you again for being on. See, I've got a few notes that I talk about the different things I want to talk about today, but more so, I want to talk about you coming up. I want to make sure that we cover what is of your interest. And then, many of you know me as the grant lady. I'm called the Queen of Grant Writing, and I have developed over 600 nonprofits operating globally, have raised over 30 million. So, of course, I'm going to sprinkle in grants and the nonprofit arena, because all of you know, no matter what I'm talking about, there's a grant for that. So we're going to talk about that too. So I want to thank you again for tuning in. And for those that may be tuning in later, I want to thank you for listening to the recording. I will be coming on every Wednesday morning, 7 a.m. Pacific, 8 a.m. Mountain, 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern. So if you happen to not catch me today, you can catch me next Wednesday. So thank you. And I hope that I just didn't ramble on too much and not make sense, because oftentimes when I'm starting something new, I may not seem like it, but I'm nervous and there's butterflies in my stomach, but I'm here and I've pivoted and I got the courage to do it, and you can too. So I want to thank all of you. This is Sherita Herring on Beverly Hills to Barnyard.